today is going to be a very exciting show. Very insightful, very educative, and also very moving. I have a lady called Juanita Headley. She is a U.S. attorney, and she is a survivor of sexual abuse. She was abused by her stepdad from the age of 5 till 10, and she has become something else. She's now the CEO of Changing Cases. She's also an attorney, U.S. attorney. We are waiting for her to come. Her story is quite moving. Today I was going to do, hi guys, okay, I have a few people. Chief, I see you. I see you for Atonto. I see Adonte Hene. I see all of you. I'm just waiting for Juanita to come live. I see you Changing Cases. So that's it. Juanita, I can see you are live now. So give me a call. Just press the call button and I would accept you and we will start the conversation. Once again, this topic. Hello, who is this? I see Frimpong. I see Ella. Hi Ella, I miss you. Yes, so Juanita is coming live. Once again, you have to applaud this woman, a survivor of sexual abuse, a CEO of her own company, a U.S. attorney. Hello, Juanita. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I need to get my face in there. Finally, we have this conversation. So, thank you, Chief. This is Juanita, a very remarkable woman. I won't say much. I will let her do her own speaking. So, Juanita, for those who don't know you, who are you? Because this is Ghana now. You're alive in Ghana. Who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Certainly. Well, first, thank you for having me on the program. Really grateful for the opportunity. It's an honor and a privilege. I was just reading your article a few days ago about sex being for the confines of marriage, and that's why I reached out to you. So thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
I'm actually from... Thank you. I'm from London, England, and that's where I am right now. I'm in the United Kingdom. Okay. People often ask me, where am I? Because I travel a lot, usually around 10 countries a year. Oh, wow. At present, I'm in England, by the grace of God. I've been here from around November of last year. I began working in a charity serving women in the sex industry, primarily prostitutes and exploited individuals. At present, I'm currently working for a domestic violence charity. And because of the lockdown, I'm working from home. However, I'm also a New York licensed attorney. My family are originally from Jamaica. I'm English born and I'm a New York attorney. Unfortunately, because I don't have a green card, visa or work permit, I'm a pro bono attorney, which means I work for free in the US, providing advice to individuals who are homeless, immigrants who cannot afford a lawyer. And because of my faith in Jesus Christ, when I am in the US, I do not work illegally. I don't work off the books or under the table. I simply work for free.
Oh, lovely. You are like a modern day Mother Teresa, if I must say. But Juanita, we want to know more of you. I saw a bit of your stories. I researched about you. Very interesting young lady. You really help the society, and most importantly, you love Christ. That's why you're on here.
Yes.
Tell me about your growing up, because I heard the story about your stepfather and what happened to you. So just talk us through, how did Juanita grow up?
Well, I grew up with my mother, who was a single mother, unfortunately. My father, he had around 10 or so children with different women. And I grew up with my mother. I did not grow up with him. When I was around 4, my mother married for the first time to my stepfather. Okay. Now, unfortunately, my stepfather, who was a mechanic, that was his trade, he was an alcoholic. Now, I'm not making excuses because there are many people, I work with clients who are alcoholics. I've interacted with people who have an addiction to drugs or alcohol. And I want to be clear, being an alcoholic does not make a person a pedophile. Absolutely not. I believe that him being an alcoholic gave him the confidence and the courage to do what he wanted to do, and that he wouldn't have had the guts to do if he was sober. And when I was 4, I remember when I was in Spain on vacation with my mother, I told her my stepfather was tickling me and then his hand slipped. Now that is obviously the interaction that I'm using from a child to an adult. That's the words and the terminology I'm using. His hand slipped. But of course, as an adult, it was not a slipping, it was grooming, and it was intentional. Grooming can be defined as preparation, preparing somebody. Now, when I confided in my mother, because she had told me as a child, nobody should touch your private parts. Now, understanding that, because my mother did not use terms like cookie, pumpkin, butterfly, she used the correct terminology. As soon as the abuse began, I confided in her. The problem was my mother, by her own admission, she told me, don't let it happen again. And she told my stepfather, don't let it happen again. As an adult, I believe that is the reason why I did not confide in her when it went on from tickling to when it was in fact attempted rape, when he would sexually abuse me during my sleep. It began with tickling when I was 4 and continued until the age of 10. And unfortunately, as a result of the abuse I went through in my sleep, I have sleep issues even into adulthood, because my stepfather would come into my room, attempt to rape me. That means that he would try to penetrate. It's attempt. It's close enough to rape, but not quite. And he would do that repeatedly, never succeeded by the grace of God, because when he would come in my room, I would toss and turn. And in doing so, he was not able to rape me. But even so, it was a very traumatic thing to have been through.
Wow. So how did it end up? What did your mom do about it from the age of 5 to 10? Did she just stay with him throughout the entire period, or she acted?
Well, what I will say, and it saddens me to have to say this, the first thing is, when my mother did find out about the tickling, she responded inappropriately by correcting myself and my stepfather. But then the problem is, when it came out a couple of years later, maybe I was 7 or 8, I confided with my cousins. I have female cousins, and I confided in them I was being abused. They told their mother. I remember this really vividly. I was sitting on the floor in my home, not the current place I'm staying, in my old home, sitting on the floor, watching an advert about staying safe. When you cross the road, stay safe. And my mother said to me, my stepfather had gone to buy alcohol, and my mother said to me that your grandmother is going to have a discussion with the family, you, myself, and your stepfather, because you've told your cousins you were abused. Now, when that happened, my stepfather was away. He was going to buy alcohol because he's an alcoholic. Yeah. And I will tell you that I was really uncomfortable with the whole thing of this conversation. I wasn't afraid, but I didn't know what to expect. So I sat there waiting for this conversation to happen. It may have been around 8 o'clock at night. The sad reality, the conversation never happened. It never happened. And what concerns me as an adult is the fact is, my family found out but did nothing. And as an adult, they've often asked me, well, why didn't you say anything sooner? Which is blaming the victim. And that is so inappropriate. When a person's been abused, there's a lot of shame attached. There's a lot of blame. It's embarrassing and humiliating to talk about being sexually violated by your stepfather. And imagine this conversation was meant to happen, and then it didn't. And then when I was around maybe 9 or 10, we were in vacation in Florida. I remember it very vividly. We were at the swimming pool, and I needed to get something from my bedroom. Now, we were sharing a room. There were 2 beds. We were sharing a room. So I ran upstairs, and I knocked on the door. My stepfather didn't answer. I believe he was in the shower. I stood waiting. He eventually came out of the bathroom, and he stood in front of the full-length mirror, completely naked. He was completely naked, and I am convinced he could see me. Even up to today, he's deceased. I am convinced he could see me. The position he had in the mirror, I could see his full frontal. I went downstairs and I told my mom, and she defended him. Now, my mother wasn't there. She's not in his head. And even as an adult, remembering this many years later, I am convinced that he saw me. And that's because maybe we sustained eye contact. There's a reason for me to say that. I'm not just imagining. There was something about that experience that I was convinced that he saw. My mother did not kick him out. Then when I was around maybe 12 or 13 years of age, I confided in friends at school. The abuse came out again. My mother said to me, since the abuse stopped when you were 10, I want you to put things in front of your bedroom door to protect you. Because what had happened, I was abused from 4 to 10. When I turned 10 and started secondary school, the abuse had stopped, or so we thought. When she found out again, the 3rd time, because it had come out before, she said, block your bedroom door so he won't come inside. She did not divorce him. However, I will say that when I was around 13 or 14, my stepfather lifted up his trousers and he told me to put my hands down his trousers or his pants. I said no and I walked away. 1 or 2 years later, my stepfather and my mother decided to video me, because when I come home from school, instead of doing homework, I watch TV. So they plugged in the video and connected it to the television. So when I came home, like I usually do, I went to watch TV. That's my normal pattern. However, although I wasn't Christian, I grew up in church, I am convinced it was the Holy Spirit, because I did not get undressed in front of the television. Now, I've got to be clear, because of being abused, I'm uncomfortable with my body, so I never walked around naked, whether somebody's home or not. I wouldn't do that. But what I'm saying is I normally undress from my school clothes to regular clothing. On this occasion, it has to be God. I did not do that. I was fully clothed in my school uniform. When I got home, my mum put on the television and she said to me, Juanita, we saw you watching the TV. And then later on, when she'd gone out, my stepfather said to me, would you like to see it on the small video camera or on the television? Now, I was believing he's going to show me imagery of myself being recorded. So I said the small camera. The camera was about this size. So he played the video. The video starts to play and I'm looking over his shoulder. I was around 15 at the time.
Yes.
And when I continued to watch, it wasn't a video of myself. It was a pornographic video of him and my mother having sex that he showed me.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. So how did your encounter with your stepdad affect your relationship with men?
What I will say is, for me, I try not to think about it. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, I tend to associate with a lot of men. Unfortunately, why? Because I feel that we can find a lot of support as a female with women, because we understand each other. And the challenge with having so many men in my life is often they try and take advantage of me being single, in the sense where they offer me promises of a relationship or marriage. I'm a Christian. I believe in sex after marriage, hence reading your article. But there are boys and men, even in church, who try to take advantage of my strong Christian belief, of my singleness. That's the difficulty and the problem with associating with a lot of men. But because of my upbringing, I grew up with a Jamaican mother, been in England from the age of 9, but my mother is Jamaican born. She's very culturally Jamaican in the sense of, even though we're very different in many ways, she's very strict. And she's very forthright. Now, I've taken that to the next level. I'm very frank and direct. And a lot of people cannot handle it, especially women who tend to be very sensitive. As a result of that, a lot of my friends and peers happen to be male because they know my intentions are pure. When I say something, there's no harm in my statement. I'm expressing myself. I'm not trying to be rude, controlling, or demanding. I'm just being frank and direct. And as a result, I'm surrounded by a lot of men. I will say that even though I spend a lot of time talking on this topic, in my day-to-day life, I don't think about abuse, because if I did, I wouldn't talk to men. And let's be real, I wouldn't talk to women, not because of my personality, but because women sexually abuse as well. When you understand that and you realize that we have biological mothers sexually abusing their biological children, if you understand how common this is, it's not just in third world, it's right here in England, you wouldn't want to talk to anybody. So the best way for me to live my life healthy and whole and to interact with other people is to not think about it. And in the spirit of transparency, my desire is to build bakeries around the world, hiring ex-convicts, including pedophiles. The God that I serve, the God of the Bible, John 3:16, that's second chances. I believe every person deserves a second chance, including my deceased stepfather. I believe in prison and jail time, but I believe in second chances. And as a result of that, I believe in empowering people regardless of their past sins, mistakes, or criminal activity.
Lovely. This is very touching. I've done a lot of interviews. Your interview really touches me. I've seen people who have been sexually abused, but they become victims, not survivors. And you are definitely a survivor, because the things that you do, you've also written a book, Juanita.
That's right. Yeah.
You want